All right. Thank you, everyone for coming back for another amazing episodes of Secrets in the Saddle, All Things Cycling podcast with your host, Sylvie Dow. And we have an amazing lady coming to us from New Zealand. Oh my gosh, I have not interviewed anybody from New Zealand as of yet. So you are the first. Now, I know Elly, and I just noticed Elly Numia, right?
Yeah.
And it's the last names that I get me to. We met in Fast Foundation's networking group, and through this group, I've met a lot of amazing people who I've had on this podcast, and I'm really excited to bring her to the podcast because not only is she a cyclist, which I just found out she was, which makes it even more exciting because I do bring professionals in, but Elly is natural health intuitive, and she's been doing that for over 25 years of experience. And she's also helped heal over 27,000 clients globally through her in-person and virtual clinics. Now, and she has 20 years experience as a nurse. So Elly has devoted herself to build a wealth of experiences and skills through both orthodox and alternative medicine. So we're going to get into that. She's also in the process of finishing a book called Stop the Stuck. And this is based on, she's going to be talking about it. I wish I had it in my hands, but it's not in the press yet. It's not on the press yet. She's just finishing it. But she's going to tell us about how she was inspired. The book is about feeling safe in relationships after trauma and hurt. So when we think about athletes and sport and trauma, it goes all hand in hand because that affects relationships, it affects businesses and careers moving forward in and out. So welcome, Elly. I am so excited to have you here, and I can't wait to hear what you have to share with us.
Thank you so much for inviting me, Sylvie. It's quite an honor. This is actually my first ever podcast. So yeah, it's quite a nice place to start with our beautiful group online. So thank you for that.
And thank you again. And I think that this is just something that is good for everybody, not just cyclists, but you said that you have a cycling background. So let's just start on how you got into cycling.
All right. Thank you. I had a pretty challenging childhood, and so my escape was to get out on my skateboard or my bike, and I was the skateboard queen, and I was also into cycling like from quite a young age. So I'd get on my bike and just cruise for half an hour type thing to get away from the family, and then come back again and feel like I had resilience and renewed vigor for life, basically. So that was that. And then I sort of cycled all the way. I've had, I don't know, 3 or 4 different bikes, and then got the challenge of let's go and do the Lake Taupo ride, and learned all about chamois creams and everything else.
We just had a conversation about that today in my group ride. Yeah, it's a lifesaver, isn't it?
Oh my gosh, yes, and pretty funky, but yeah, it was interesting experience. And I was taught by a man, it's even funnier. So
that's good.
Yeah.
Using his chamois cream, no doubt.
No. He just told me what to do and what to buy and go do this.
Oh,
and like,
good.
Okay. Yes, that was hilarious. And I remember my first time I got clip-ons, and I was told by the guy in the shop, now you will fall off, and like jinxing me. I'm like, that's a bit mean. He goes, no, you will. It's like a clip-on initiation. Everyone has to actually go through. And I'm like, no, I'm not going to. And then I was just cruising along the road, and it was like a slight hill, and I think I hadn't eaten. I was a bit tired, and so I was like just going very slowly, and I sort of went slower and slower. And I just stopped and just fell to the side and fell on the road. I'm like, well, that's embarrassing.
That must be what he's talking about.
The hard way. And then again, at lights, about, I don't know, 2 months later, I fell off at some lights, and so I'm like, okay. So then I was well and truly initiated, and I did the Lake Taupo ride, which is around Auckland, New Zealand's middle. It's a lake of 160k ride, and it's some nasty hills at the end, and I kind of get the giggles when I'm under pressure, so I started giggling up the hill. And I could feel everybody around me who was also under pressure, and I'm an empath, and so I started giggling even more. So I managed to say how I get up the hill, giggling the whole way.
Oh.
But it was a really challenging ride. The last 40 Ks, I was getting lots of pain in my sort of coccyx bone. I'm thinking, what's going on? Am I dehydrated? Have I eaten enough? Yep. And but I was actually just at the end of my endurance. So it was a really interesting place to be in, and taught me a lot about what athletes go through and how they have to be machines, and how you have to prepare your body nutritionally as well as physically and mentally to do what you do. So it's been like a real passion of mine, and I ended up getting a really big dog who's crazy. It needed to be walked like 2 hours a day, and so I haven't done much cycling since I had her, which is probably a good 6 years ago now. And so I've got another dog now that I walk. I've got an indoor cycle that I still use, but I don't do many road bikes because it's a bit crazy around here, and my dog also needs walking, so it's not quite enough hours in the day to do it all,
So do you have your bike on a trainer at home?
No, I actually have a beautiful spin bike, like a Rolls Royce spin bike.
Oh, awesome.
I use one of those Peloton type things,
Oh, okay.
So,
I have one just in case, sometimes it's just easier to jump on there instead of set up your bike and bring your bike
totally in. And I do have a wind trainer, but again I fell off it. I'm not the best at setting up those.
Well, I can help you get that all set up though.
Oh, that'd be great.
So that was a while ago.
Yes.
Not too long ago you stopped riding your bike, but what made you get into your career of a natural health intuitive? And if I were to think about what exactly is that?
Yep, sure can. So I've always been one of these kids who was like, to my mother, why are we here? Why? And my poor mother didn't know what to say. She'd say things like, oh, you're going to go to school in a few years, and, you're going to grow up and have a family of your own and go to work. And I was like, doesn't seem quite logical or right, and I constantly asked these questions. And then when I was about 3, I had, I don't know what you would call it, an experience where I had to learn all the rocks and crystals and plants around, so that when the world had a world crisis, I'd be there to help people. And it sounds a bit wild, but that was what happened. And so all my life I was kind of like, okay, I've got to learn natural things. At 17, I didn't know what to do. So my mother said, look, how about you go and be a nurse? You're really good with people, go be a nurse. Went and started, being a nurse, and got used to blood and guts. I was never into blood and guts, and people fainting. And then I was fainting at blood and guts. And
that's a good way of figuring out this.
It wasn't the best place for me to be, but I did it for 20 years, and I learned lots of beautiful skills about people and building rapport, and probably I started realizing my intuitive skills then. Like if I had someone who was like not terminally, or someone who was very sick and couldn't speak to me and tell me what they needed, I could feel everything in their bodies, and I could feel what they needed. And so I could feel, okay, you're just going to move the pillow in this position, and I watch their whole body go, thank you, and relax into a better space. And so I was kind of known for, being a really good nurse. And I think, in hindsight, that everybody needs to do some sort of service arts in their growing up, because it's so powerful to be of service to humanity. And I'm a white lighter, so basically that's a big part of what I'm here to do, is to actually help people and heal people. And then I finished my naturopath trail. Oh, hell, I didn't get to that. I went to Rarotonga to help a girlfriend.
Elly.
Sorry?
What's a white lighter?
Okay, a white lighter is basically somebody who is kind of here on this earth plane to help people, and we are compelled to help them. We will like if we can be dog tired or anything else, and we're still like, how can I help? How can I serve? And so we can often see the big picture in things, and see what's needed for people quite clearly. And so I've noticed that even as a youngster, I'd be in my parents' car, and I'd see an accident happening in front of us, and then the accident would actually physically happen. So I realized, you know, oh gosh, I bet what I thought as a kid, I was like 7 and 8 years old, I had actually caused the accident. And then I realized, oh, no, it's just what happens. I see things in my head, and then I see them outside the body as well. And so I figured out, even in things like drawing, you know, I'd start drawing these really freaky pictures that was way beyond my years with dots and things. And it was all because I was getting, you know, channeled basically with spirit to show me what to do and how to do everything. And then what happened from there? Yeah, so I went off to Rarotonga and to help a girlfriend with her father who'd passed over. And in there, there's a guy called Pa who would take people for walks through the bush, and he would say things like, oh, this plant fixes broken bones, this plant helps with nausea. I'm like, oh, this is fascinating, you know. And I was really getting bored with nursing because of the whole revolving door syndrome, that people weren't really getting helped. They would you know, get off a pill, put on another pill, and they come back in again and again. And I was like, this is just cruel. You know, people shouldn't be going through this stuff. And so I thought, okay, what can I do that combines all of my loves? I love exercise, I love you know, I thought maybe being a physiotherapist, I love nutrition, I want to be a nutritionalist. And then you know, someone told me, oh, why don't you become a naturopath? And I'm like, well, what's that? And so found out what that was, and it combines all my loves. And so I went and trained, and it was just like coming home. It was like second nature to me. It felt very sensible to me. And so I loved learning. And then I was out in the field in my first year, and I had my little iridology magnifying glass, look in people's eyes, and I could see pictures of, you know, at 2 years old, this person was abused. And I'm like, well, that's not in my notes, and that's not in the books, and there's nothing in the lacunas in the eyes that would tell me this. I just know this stuff. And I'm like, well, how do I know, and why do I know, and how can I not scare the person who I'm, you know, giving the consult to? Because, you know, it was just like, what do I do with this? And thankfully we'd learnt from this amazing lady Angela Chadwick, muscle testing. And so that helped me. I started using people's bodies and muscle testing them and just checking, you know, show me a strong, show me a stressor, what's going on, and the body would respond with energy. And so it made me very aware that I could help people in that way and not scare the bejesus out of them by just telling them I know. And so
look at you've been abused when you were 2 years old. What?
Yeah, exactly.
So it's kind of like an easier way to assess something and bring the information out over just sort of like,
yeah. And it's really exact. Like this is all part of kinesiology, which I got more and more into after that. And it's basically using your body's energies as a barometer and finding out what's going on in the body. That's the truth. But you can't lie to someone who's a kinesiologist, you know. It's all right there, whether, you know, you're happy, sad, whether you've had an injury, whether you've had a trauma.
Are you sure there's nothing else you want to tell me?
Exactly.
Are you sure?
Exactly.
Because I think you're holding something back.
Yeah, exactly. So it was a really profound way to get into that. And then I sort of got more and more into alternative things from there. And basically, it was like what to call myself, because, you know, I'm a shaman, I'm a yogi, naturopath, medical herbalist, you know, coach. What do you call this person does all this kind of stuff? You know, what is my my X factor, or my my kind of X factor, I suppose. And so I came up with the term medical intuitive, and then I got a bit sort of miffed with the medical system. So I don't want to be part of medical, and so it's like, no, I'll be a natural intuitive. And so that's where the term came from, as a natural health intuitive.
Okay, so you coined your own.
Sorry, I've lost your sound.
Oh, hey, can you hear me?
Better. Yes, thank you. Yes.
So you've coined your own career, basically.
Basically,
like,
yeah.
This is everything, and this is what that covers.
Yes.
Ah, very well. I mean, yeah, why not?
Why not?
Why not? You know, you're just like, I'm not that, I'm a little bit of this and that, and well, that makes sense, because you also in here you have a network. You're a fitness leader, trainer, personal trainer as well, so you get everything in there.
And I've sort of, again, done all that. Like I've, you know, helped run gyms. I've been a personal trainer in the gym. And yeah, I've done a Bachelor of Health Science as well as the diplomas and things in New Zealand for naturopathy, and we're not called doctors over here, we're just called naturopaths over here, whereas in the States it's called, the same training is basically called doctor. So I've done all that kind of stuff, and I still love it, but I'm getting more and more known for my spirituality more than just being a naturopath, because I can see that sort of what people can't see. So yeah, that works really well for my clinic.
That those things that are locked inside that aren't coming out, or you kind of refuse to bring
the
them
wardrobe out. The wardrobe, yeah. Like some people,
the closet of skeletons.
Yeah, that's it. People go to me in clinic, oh, this is a bit intense, and I'm like, I had to really think about that. I'm not an intense person. I just am able to see the depths in people really well, and help them be aware of their own emotional or life consciousness that they've maybe forgotten or are not really aware of. And so it can be a bit confronting for some people, but at the same time they get results, so their life changes, they are able to live like without trauma or without anxiety, whatever's going on for them.
You said you put together this book. What was the before we get into the book, let's talk about how you've worked with over 27,000 people. And so let's talk about the kind of athletes. I mean, you're not going to give names, but maybe you could give examples of athletes that you've helped, work through trauma and hurt. Because, there's a multitude of things, like a lot of, like yourself, you got into cycling because of your childhood. People, there's abuse that comes from coaches. There's like life, accidents that end careers, or, so can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, absolutely. And trauma is rife. It's something like 80% of us have been traumatized in some way, shape or form, from little traumas to big traumas. People like Dr. Levine have been out there for a few years teaching people about this as well. And I see it in clinic from that very first few clients who would do things like this the woman who I looked in her iris and I saw that at 2 years old she'd been abused, and she'd often wondered
presently at the time, or is this like a past trauma?
This is a past client. Yeah, this is a past client.
The trauma that you saw, was it current or?
Okay, so what happens is some people aren't even aware that they are traumatized. They'll go, oh, I have problems with my relationship, or I have problems with anxiety or communicating or sleeping. And when we go back to the cause of that, because as we treat the cause, not the symptoms, then everything else changes. So you actually build a new foundation for them. So you can help them realize what's going on for them and help them find peace and acceptance, rather than feel agitated, stressed for no known reason, hypervigilant for no known reason. So it's just getting down to that awareness. So with athletes, I treat a lot of gymnasts and acrobats and dancers. My daughter's actually a performer and a dancer as well. So I've been surrounded by them since she was 3. And so everything from, say I've got swimmers who can't jump off a certain level, or can't like jump fast enough into the water, and so we look like breaking it down. Okay, hold this pose, what's happening in the body, hold this pose, what's happening in the body, and going through bit by bit to see what's locked into the muscle memory, what's locked into different organs, what's happening in your head, in your emotional body, so that you can actually break each bit down and empower them with, actually, at this point and this point and this point, you have a choice. This is how we can actually move through that, rather than feel stuck at any space in that. And the same with gymnasts who couldn't do sort of like a back bend or a double twist or whatever they have to do. We have to again break it down. What's happening now? What's happening now? And so just breaking it down in a way that the body stays informed. And then when the body's informed, the body can relax and trust the whole being, and then the body can act in a much faster way. So yeah, that's how sort of we know for that. Quite a lot of concussions, of course, with all kinds of sports, and people can go to concussion clinics and can take a year and a half, 2 years, and I'm like, no, this is crazy. You know, let's deal with the trauma of the injury, and because the trauma actually is stored in the body after the injury. So the actual injury itself, people often leave their body, and in shaman ways talking about people having soul loss, and sometimes it's bringing the rest of their being back into their body, and so that they can cope with things better. And other times it's, you know, doing some cranial work with them to get things flowing and moving inside their spinal area again, or you know, helping a certain part of the body come back online with the brain as being the computer. So all different things like this we're doing just to help people heal and come back into their wholeness, and so that they can move forward.
That's really interesting, because we're going to break for one quick minute to talk about some winter training options. Now, are you stuck in a complete rut in your cycling fitness? Or maybe you're so new, you've enjoyed your summer so much, but you're completely overwhelmed by what to do this winter? Well, I have a solution for you. I put together a cycling skills 4-week workshop for women, men too, but we cater for women. And the thing is about this is for beginners and novice, anybody who really wants to take their cycling to the next level and they don't know how. What we focus on is pure cycling skills over the 4 weeks. Now, the first week, we completely go down to the fundamentals of the pedal stroke. How does it work? How to implement it? What is it? And how to get it started. The next one is using that pedal stroke skills now on hills, how to attack the hills, how to be smoother on the hills and be just more fluid and no more falling over, right? The next one is nutrition, putting it all together, because if you don't have the right fuel, climbing up that hill, these skills aren't going to help. The last one, we're going to focus on speed, how to get faster, and strength training. Now, the way it works is it's a completely interactive workshop. We start by a demonstration on the whiteboard, so explanation. Then we have the visual demonstration. Well, I will get on the bike and I'll explain the pedal stroke. And then you get on your bike and I put you through some drills. So it really lands home as to what to do and how it all works. Then you get some homework, some drills to do to take what you just learned and apply it on the road. And then we have a weekly Q&A where you can come back and go, I tried that drill and I don't quite understand. I'd like a little bit more explanation, and that is completely for you. So that is our cycling skills 4-week workshop for women, and it is completely there to debunk all of the questions that you have on how to get better on your bike over the winter. Along with all that great information, you can sign up or go to cyclingskillspro.com for more information. I have an amazing $50 discount code for you. So use 4WK50 at checkout and you can get an extra $50 off. You are going to be so amazed at this workshop. It really takes everything, all the skills that you're lacking from outside, bringing them inside so you can then apply them to Swift or your next group ride. Now back to our episode. A gymnast mom and a dance mom. And my daughter moved from gymnast to dance because she couldn't get past the fear of a certain apparatus. And granted, she has a visual impairment, and I can see why she could not get past the parallel bars, let's say.
Yeah.
Because because like literally, like she's kind of like tunnel like this, so the bar would be there and the bar would be back, and then it was like moving out of her like her range of vision, but the thing is, if you want to move through gymnastics, you have to be able to do all of the apparatuses to compete. So I gave her a choice. I said, we could work through this, but you need to get over it so you can move on as an athlete. And you have 6 months to try and get this done. You know, I didn't know a whole lot then like I do now, and possibly talking to somebody like you would have been a good, I mean, but like as a parent, it's funny because
You
like
don't know.
you
Like,
don't know. You
we're
don't
not taught
know.
that kind of stuff. Like there's stuff that I did with my daughter I didn't know.
It's
She was a
like, who
dance.
would I talk to
Totally.
help my
So
daughter?
probably someone who does NIS kinesiology, which is started by a guy called Dr. Phillips in New Zealand, and he's taught all around the world, America, Canada, Germany, everywhere. And it's a form of kinesiology that helps people's brains see their body. The brain does something like 40,000 things per second, and you can't do it all consciously. There's about 40 things consciously per second. So often it will get busy or confused and it will park something somewhere else. And so that includes trauma. So the body will, put it into the somatic system, which is like the muscles and the nerves and the fascia, or it will, record it in the eyes or in the ears. So just figuring out all of that and, seeing what's online, but what is the leading or priority issue, and letting the body choose that, because we can't play guru and go in there and go, okay, I want to do this or fix this part with you, with some other part wants to talk first, because that's what needs help first before we do the actual injured part or the upset part. So any form of kinesiology will help, but NIS is just incredible. It's part of Neuralink. So if you look up Neuralink Global and find somebody near you, it's really good to help with everything from dyslexias and eye issues and performance issues, basically. So it's really helpful. But there are also other wonderful forms like ICP, KP, kinesiology. Also, I trained with them as well, and they are amazing. Good old Touch for Health was my beginnings in kinesiology, and that's great as well. So they all have wonderful merit and can support people and change perceptions. Other really good thing is NLP, which is neuro-linguistic programming, which people are getting much more common or au fait with now. And it's helped change your perception. So rather than seeing this, big scary hill in the distance with both NLP and kinesiology, you can kind of bring it down to being just a walk in the park and it's just cruisy, and my heart rate hardly changes and I feel great, and my legs are moving in a different way, but that's cool, and just just changing things around. So really powerful.
I said, I love the hills over saying I hate the hills.
Yeah, exactly. Hills are my jam.
Yeah, that's right. So that's very interesting. I mean, it's years past now, but I mean, and it's funny because I put it on her and on the coaches to help her to figure it out, but I don't know, coaches know. Do they know that much? Are they in tune with professionals that can help?
Yeah,
probably not.
And unfortunately, a lot of it is sort of more medical based. So there's physiotherapists, there's psychologists who can go so far, which is great. But sometimes they need that sort of X factor, which is what don't they know that they can't tell you, they can't share with you because they've blocked it into their unconscious. And the body holds a lot of the unconscious. So it's a matter of getting into the body and helping the person in it, the being, see the unseen or hear the things that they don't know about, so that they can go, oh yeah, actually, I'll say to them, okay, what happened when you were 5? Oh yeah, my first week at school, I was bullied really badly, and that's scared me from being able to look at people, or I'd always feel like I was being watched, and so I couldn't compete when it came to the big performances, or all these little things that you don't even kind of think about, but they have merit and they have impact. And it's all relative for the child within, which takes it into the adult within, which gets affected by that. So yeah.
That is interesting, because I know that she was bullied a lot because of her eyes when she was a kid in elementary school. I mean, kids in elementary school are horrible.
They are.
Girls and boys.
Yes.
I don't care. There's a bully out there. Doesn't matter. They're there. It doesn't, like I was bullied. I'm sure you were bullied a bit.
Yeah.
They're just, I think they're just a rite of passing into life. Like somebody's going to get touched by it. And I think it's, and I always told her, I said, just stay close to the people who are good to you. Don't try and, make friends with the I would call them the pretty people, the popular girls that put together with them. Oh, I told her, I said, you know, don't try and be friends with, I call them the pretty people, or, you know, or the, you know, or the popular kids,
Yes,
because they will never like be friends with you.
yes,
And
yes.
I not say that in a bad thing, but they won't. You
Yeah,
know,
yeah.
so if you have a friend that's really good to you and really nice, then build that relationship. And that's what she did, you know.
Well
And
done. Good advice, Mum.
it really
Yeah.
helped because, you know, that's how that was my experience in not high school, elementary school, bullied by the popular girls,
Yeah.
you know.
And all that stuff can really shape a person, and if they don't get support through it, you know, it can shape them in positive ways. People like what's his name, David Goggins, and you listen to his story, which is, you know, horrific, and yet he's got this amazing strong mind that just pushes through anything and everything and won't give into it. To us more gentler types who yeah, we need to just feel everything around us and feel comfortable and safe in our environments, and then everything is easier for us. We can commit to something 100% because we feel safe. So it's just a matter of, you know, understanding people's mentality and their personality types and their glandular types, and, you know, working with that.
Now let's talk about your book
Yes.
and what prompted you to start putting that together, how long ago, and when it's going to be out.
Good questions. So
I'll put you on
about,
the spot because I know you're almost done.
yeah, I'm nearly there. It's not too much pressure anymore. My, because I work with spirit, right? And I've been telling me that, oh, it'd be really good for me to help people who've been abused, because I had a really violent childhood. And I was like, oh, no, it's too emotional for me because, you know, I feel it all, I feel them, it's just too much. And it kept coming again and again, you know, you're going to help people who've been abused or traumatized. No, don't want to know about it, you know. And then I met a beautiful man and went across to Brazil with him a couple of years back. And I think, okay, then I'm ready to write a book. And I was like, what am I going to call the book? And Spirit said, Stop the Stuck. And I'm like, Stop the Stuck, that's pretty cool, I like that. And I thought I was going to do it on abuse. And then ended up, when I got to Brazil, I was in a little tiny town and no one spoke English except for my partner, and he was speaking like, you know, 60% English. And so I was very isolating, and I got to the point that I was like, I'm actually getting re-traumatized because I can't speak up, I can't speak in my truth. I was like, whoa, okay. And then I could see how this book was morphing, because I was actually, you know, making sure I'm a therapist and going through everything I could possibly think of to help myself as part of it. And so I just started writing about that as well. And so the book morphed, rather than people who've been traumatized, about relationships and how that affected us, you know, day to day with our loved ones and people we didn't know, and how we would communicate. And people in Brazil were just gorgeous, and they all spoke Portuguese, which is wonderful, and the most loving, welcoming people. But if you can't speak your truth and you can't speak up, it's quite an interesting space to be in. It's like being a mute in the band, like, yep,
Yeah,
nodding,
I can
and
imagine if
sign
you're
language
just like...
and all that. Yeah. It's just, yeah. I was lucky. I went to a gym over there and, you know, made friends with the gym instructors over there, and, you know, got into all that, which was great. And we're still friends on Facebook now. And it's just like, yeah, but yeah. So yeah, so the book basically morphed into that, and, you know, how to cope with life and how it affected relationships, as well as the abuse and trauma type stuff. So I'm still thinking quite seriously about removing the hurt off the title, just keeping it at, you know, what it is now. So yeah,
Oh, okay.
yeah. And I've got some close family members who I see who are really stuck, and like I would call it what I call my family of friends, who get really stuck, like they're trying to lose weight, they can't get any further with it, they trying to move ahead, they can't get any further with it, and, you know, I can feel no heart and soul. It's because of trauma they had in their own childhood. So a big part of me wrote the book for them, just for that they can, you know, understand what I do, because, you know, I'm considered quite woo-woo by most people because of what I do, but it works. Yeah,
like,
it
please
works.
help, please let me help you, I can help you. What?
Yeah, I know. And it's really
You're my
challenging
cousin.
because, you know, it's challenging because you can see I can see what people need, but it all comes out at me. Everyone's stuff comes out at me, but I can't necessarily do anything until they are ready or they ask for help. It's not my place to, you know, say, let me fix you, because that's not right. It's not what I'm meant to doing. It's how can I help empower you? How can I support you to be your better self? And they have to want to do that. So a big part of this book was, how to better yourself, but also you can't move forward until you've dealt with the past, until you've actually healed that past and feeling safe enough to actually move forward. So whether it be for athletes, whether it be for household mums, any profession at all, there's everyone I meet has got some stuff in there, and it's like, how much can they handle? Like, turning their wounds into wisdom, turning their fears into courage, and what will it take for them to do that? So yeah, I think this book's full of lots of things like affirmations and EFT, emotional freedom technique, working with all sorts of things from anxiety to difficulty relating to, you name it, it's all in there. So it's a very extensive book, and I've had a few coaches say, no, break it down, just do it on anxiety, just do it. I'm like, no. And then my coach in Fast Founders is like, no, don't you dare. This is what you've been called to do. You make sure that you do this. And so it's a big project.
Do volumes.
Well, this is what I got to, because I was talking to Spirit about it, and I just came back from Brazil, and we ended up in lockdown in Auckland, New Zealand. And I was like, my gosh, I feel so spun out from all of this. And so Spirit said, okay, now's a good time to write a book on grounding. So I downloaded a book in 3 days on how to ground, and it was basically 108 ways to ground, and it all came flying through in 3 days. So wrote all that down. So that book's ready to go, but I've got to get this first book out first, and then the second book's ready to go. And it's going to be a series of different kinds of stop the stuck, from different health issues to mental health issues. There's a massive need for more mental health. Yeah,
that's kind of cool. So you said you have a lot of different things in this one book.
Yes.
And you don't think like having volumes available, like you start with like maybe 3 different things, and then you have the anxiety volume come out afterwards, like
exactly
like 3 months after,
yes.
And then the next one, like
exactly,
or you just have them all as a like a package deal, like you can 1 for 10, 5 for 40.
Well, I've gone through it with 3 different coaches, and broken it up, and it just didn't flow, because there's so many things that all work together, and they need
That's
to
why
be
they want to have the whole volume set.
Exactly, because the so many people, like for example, like say someone injured their knee, on a fall, they might also injure their lower back, but it might not get addressed. And it's the same thing with this, because someone might have anxiety because of their trauma, but they might also have PTSD, or they might also have confidence issues, different things that come from different angles, and it's all part of the one. We can't keep dividing up humans into you're this issue or you're this part. We are whole beings. And talking with Spirit about it and talking with his coach about it, was like, no, I need to put the whole out there first of all as a big volume, big Bible basically, and then from there do smaller books from there, so separate books just on anxiety from that, but it won't be as comprehensive as the big one, of course. So there's method in my madness, don't worry.
I was just thinking that the volumes would be cool, because then you could just sort of pick one volume and read through it, like and then you have the different segments. But that's interesting. So that's a big thing coming up for the whole of for the next year.
Basically, it's I've probably got 2 days writing on it, and it'll be finished, and then just editing to go. So we're almost there. So I'm really thankful, because when I came back from Brazil and ended up in lockdown in Auckland, it was quite traumatizing. I'm a bit of an advocate for
what
freedom.
Am I gonna do? I guess write my book.
I can keep writing, but I actually couldn't. So I went straight into the whole advocate for what I believe in, with our freedom of choice and everything else. And I was very aware they're going to push a vaccine on us, and my friends were like, no. I'm like, yeah. And now it's well and truly happening. So I got into that sort of fight for a while and put the book to the side. So I just picked it up again just before we started our mastermind, and into from there.
So that what brought you to the mastermind?
Yeah, I actually wanted to finish the book, and I wanted to learn how to put it out there and what to do. I had no, because I trained 27 years ago, and so I have no idea about sales or marketing or sales funnels. I'm like, what?
I know,
talking about it.
Who can I
So
hire?
it's a whole new world.
So
yeah.
Before we close it up, because it's super interesting, I'd love you to talk about maybe just one example. Like we kind of touched on it, like when you talk about athletes, and I know there's different types of trauma. So let's just talk about something that's relatively common, which is a large crash and injury and that kind of trauma, which could lead to, maybe being out of, the rest of the event to the race. Well, let's just say Tour de France. Like, I don't know if you watched it, but there was a lot of crashes in there, and guaranteed a couple people probably weren't able to finish the tour.
Yeah, very sad.
Where would you start with that? With someone?
Obviously absolutely. Obviously with everyone as an individual, and just having their own story and where they're at with it all. Generally there's going to be grief involved and anger involved as part of that, so it's finding ways to help them release that anger and deal with that grief, and using things like homeopathy, which is a beautiful way to do it with it energetically, where you can actually help them move past things. For example, things like aconite, 30C potency with homeopathy. Say someone's had an accident and they're scared to get back on their bike again, or they feel really embarrassed and it's scared it will happen again. You can give them aconite, which will stop that fear of it happening again and again type thing. Or say someone got really depressed because they put everything into this Tour de France and then all of a sudden couldn't do it. You can again give them remedies to help with that, so there's remedies for different kinds of depression, and there's hundreds of remedies for that kind of stuff. So again, I've put a lot of those in the book to help people with anxiety, depression, overwhelm, on that emotional scale. And then it's more about giving them the courage and the confidence to get back out there and do it again, because it's like having a really strong why, a really strong reason why you're doing it in the first place, and coming back to that strong why, and then nothing else standing in your way. Like we're taught now, mastermind, about sometimes people have got to do things 4, 5, 10, 100 times before they get to where they want to get. I was thinking of one of my clients who's a equestrian, and she had horse issue, her own body issues, but one after the thing after another, and it was just a matter of keeping her going. Now she's competing again and doing really amazing. But sometimes it's there are these challenges that get in your way, but they make you stronger, and just finding that silver lining in each thing. And okay, maybe this wasn't the right time, maybe this wasn't the right race, maybe my head wasn't in the game. I thought it was very beautiful at the Olympics with those women who were saying, I'm actually not going to compete this time. And how empowering for every woman in the world. I was like, or every athlete in the world, go them, so proud of them. And I think that mental health aspect needs to be looked at as well, not just physical recovery, which is equally important, but also what's stored in the calf when you fall, what's stored in the IT bands when you fall, what's stored in your back when you fall. How did your body feel about you doing it again? So what's your body saying that you're not even looking at? Because most people who are extreme athletes, they will be aware from here up, from the neck up. They're not aware of their physical bodies. They're machines. They just go and go and go and go. And I know from years of doing physical bodywork with people, some people I'd massage and they'd be open and flexible and everything was moving in their body, they were like rigid rocks. And the athletes are usually really open and flexible, but with that, they're just not necessarily aware of areas, because their pain levels are so high because they just push through everything. So just coming back to, finding their center, what's important to you, where do you want to go, how do you want to do it, what does success look like to you, all those things that make someone successful and help them get over the line with competing.
Yeah, that was pretty powerful to have her walk off, and well, not walk off, but just say, I'm not, because I'm sure maybe you watched her competition, you're just like, woo, that doesn't look
Mm.
right. And I'm sure she
Mm.
could feel it. And,
Mm.
you know, she's just such a powerhouse. You can imagine how if she had not had, you know, the ability to actually land on her feet, however it is that she landed, that she could have
Yeah,
like become a paraplegic pretty easily.
exactly.
And she,
Exactly.
you know, and she's like, no.
Yeah.
And
And I think too, like, you know, we've changed from this whole sort of Piscean authoritarian push, like the bless the, you know, bless the cotton socks, the Russian coaches that would like rah, 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 push, and totally ignore the humanness of people, to people who actually care for people. And this whole Aquarian age we're moving more into, people need to become aware of their wholeness, not just, you know, they're good for this, they're good for a lot of things, you know, what else is important to them, you know, how can we bring all of that together in alignment? Like in New Zealand we have walkers or canoes, and, you know, a good story or two, this is thinking about, you know, if there's a whole bunch of people in a walker or canoe and the front person wants to make a difference and do something different, you've got to have all beings in the canoe thinking the same thing to go the same way. So the front person is your consciousness and the rest of it is your unconscious. The more those are lined up, then it's easier for the canoe or the walker to keep moving forward. Whereas if, you know, just you want to make a difference, you're still going to go in the same direction. You can't turn because the unconscious is still doing the old patterns.
right. Yeah. Simone, that's her name.
Yeah.
That was pretty powerful. And to not have somebody bully her to go back and do it. You know what I mean?
Amazing.
Like,
It was amazing.
yeah, I mean, I think she had I don't want to say the popularity, but she's pretty established, you know, and I think she's like, you know, it's not worth it for me. And the young girl who took her place did an amazing job. So she gave the opportunity to somebody new. But so, all right, now let's talk before we wrap this up. Where can everybody find you? And where can we find the book? Because your episode will be later in September. So where can we find you? Where can we follow you?
Yeah,
so
sure.
that we can see when you produce,
absolutely,
when your book is ready.
Thank you. Yeah, you can follow me on Instagram and Facebook at Elly Grace Numia. And online I have a website called Numia, Numia. And yeah, look forward to talking with more of you and meeting more of you.
Well, no, that'd be great, because like it sounds like it'd be something that would be great in everybody's library that they as a coach can access. And is that sounds like maybe what you've done?
Yeah, I mean, basically it's in any issue or any affinity that's going on. So say you had a problem with, you know, someone betrayed you in your coaching world, then okay, you're going to look up betrayal and you can see, okay, under betrayal you've got a whole lot of things you can do to help.
Oh my gosh, really?
Yourself heal from that. Yeah, totally. It's very thorough. Yeah, so say you had a problem with anxiety after trauma, after a fall, you go to the anxiety section and you can look at what you can do for that, from remedies to EFT to affirmations to lifestyle changes. So it's very thorough.
All right. Well, I'm gonna have to get myself a copy. And so where are you going to be selling it? On Amazon?
The plan so far is Amazon. Yeah, that's all we've got to so far. So it's all in the early stages of that. But yeah, definitely going to be self-publishing and definitely drawn towards Amazon. So we'll go from there.
It is the place for everything. So the title's called Stop the Stuck and Feel Safe in Relationships After Trauma and Hurt. And I think you should leave hurt in there, because hurt and trauma are kind of different.
Okay, thank you for that.
Yeah. So it's been amazing. And I hope everybody, I want to thank our listeners for taking in this episode and learning something. And especially like if you happen to know somebody who is experiencing a lot of anxiety, and I know these days, I'm sure we all know somebody who's experienced a little bit of anxiety, depression. This might be a good read for them. So think about checking out this book on Amazon and Yeah, and purchasing yourself a copy. So thank you so much, Elly, and thank you to our listeners again. It was a pleasure. I think this is a really good thing that you're doing, and too bad you're so far away. And,
I do work
but
online. I see clients from all over the world. So I work
I know,
online.
but I hope you sleep.
I do, don't worry.
You set your boundaries. I hope that's part
I
of
have
your
very strong boundaries, yes.
part of, that's got a chapter to itself.
And it has,
How
you
to
know it.
set, do
Yeah.
you really?
Yeah, totally. It's all in there. It's all part of trauma. Yeah.
All right, how to set boundaries. If you don't know how to set them and say no, get this book.
Bless you. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much, everyone. Have an amazing day. And don't forget to, like I said, share this with somebody who you know, and don't forget to follow so that you are always in tuned with the next episode that comes out. You never know who I'm going to bring. Take care, everybody. Bye.